Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys. Happy New Year to everybody. We're back in 2026 for the first time. Thursday, January 1st, Ian Cameron with you. Alex B. Smith will be along in just a moment as well. Great to see everybody in the chat. It means you survived New Year's Eve, alive and well, happy and healthy, and you're back with us here, ready to start a brand new year of NHL hockey and the Ice Guys show. And it's good to be back. It's good to be back, of course. Here on the we did just see you yesterday. It's not like we were gone for it's not like we were gone for days or weeks, but it is good to be back, and it is good to see the new year in action here as we get rolling in 2026. 8 games on this New Year's Day card. I remember a time when the only game on New Year's Day was the Winter Classic, but now it's a different, it's a unique season because they're trying to pack in as many games as possible before the Olympic break. The Winter Classic is on Friday night tomorrow, January 2nd, instead. So as a result, we've pretty much got a full slate of hockey, 8 games here on this New Year's Day, which is not always the case, but 8 games, and we'll get to those in just a moment. And like I said, we appreciate all of you joining us. And again, Happy New Year, and glad to see everyone back with us here on the show today in 2026. All our familiar names and people in the chat, we appreciate it very much. All right. Recapping New Year's Eve and the Wednesday action in the NHL. Washington beats the Rangers 6-3. Nice win there for the Capitals. Nashville 4-2 against Vegas. Steven Stamkos, a milestone goal for him that he was able to get for the Predators. And they beat the struggling Vegas Golden Knights, who once again did not have Jack Eichel. There was some hope that he would be back yesterday, but that was not the case. He wasn't able to return, and the Nashville Predators get a 4-2 victory over the Vegas Golden Knights. And that's kind of brutal. Like I got a 5.5 at -135 with the full game over in that Nashville Vegas game, but that was not a number that was available, and I other than a couple books, and you had to lay juice to do that. Most people had over 6 with the full game total, and to have a push in that game is just brutal. It was 4-2 halfway through the second, and not a goal after that. No empty net goal either. So pretty tough. I mean, if you had the over at 6 in that game and it lands on a push, but Nashville gets the win 4-2 there in that game. Best bet hits Tampa Bay Anaheim. It started out real slow. Holy mackerel. That game was 1-0 Tampa Bay deep into the second period. But we get a goal explosion in the third period to get us to the over, and Tampa Bay wins 4-3 in overtime. 10-1 run now for the Anaheim Ducks in their last 11 home games. So very, very impressive to see that by them. And that's a bad job by Vegas, too, considering, it was useless on and in the net for Nashville, too. And all Vegas could do was score 2 goals against that guy. That's a pathetic look at home. Pathetic. I don't care if you don't have Jack Eichel. You can only score 2 against that guy. Yeah, that's not good if you're Vegas. But Tampa Bay, a nice win. Another loss for Anaheim. The struggles kind of continue for them. But they beat Tampa Bay, wins 4-3 in overtime. And again, the over 6.5 best bet with Tampa Bay Anaheim hits. So does the over in Minnesota San Jose. And this is another game where the goals started out slow, but the scoring picked up in the third period. What a win for the San Jose Sharks. One common denominator we talked about yesterday on the show, and it's something to point out here. There's so many instances of players picked for the Canadian Olympic team getting that Olympic bump. And it's going to be interesting to see. Obviously, Tom Wilson scored yesterday. Macklin Celebrini scores for San Jose. There's many instances where you saw that across the NHL yesterday. Players that got picked for their Olympic roster, in this case Canada's, because Canada obviously, was that their roster was announced yesterday. You saw it. It's almost like it went right to their legs. Just the energy level is up. You just feel great hitting the ice knowing, hey, I was picked to represent my country at the Winter Olympics. And that can sometimes be a harbinger for, really driving the best out of you. And we certainly saw multiple players that were announced to that roster score, including, of course, in this Minnesota-San Jose game, Macklin Celebrini. Nice win for the Sharks. They battle back, and they get a 4-3 shootout win yesterday over the Minnesota Wild. So nice to see that unfold there. There he is, Alex B. Smith. Before I continue the recap, we'll get Alex's first comments in on the new year. Happy New Year, my friend, and good to be back. I know we were here yesterday. It's not like we were gone for months or weeks, but nevertheless, It's good to be back here in the new year, 2026.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy New Year to everyone, and hope everyone had a nice night. I took it easy, ate some mushrooms, and just kind of chilled out, watched the games, watched some of the football as well. But I know you just I was leading off with that Sharks Wild game. That was the game that I watched all the way through. That was a super exciting game.
Great game.
And to see, once again, like I said, this Wild team fight and battle, and even though they couldn't get that second point, which I thought was a little bit of coaching malpractice in that overtime. As important as Quinn Hughes is to this team, you can't have him out there for literally the entire 5 minutes of overtime. He had a clear chance to breakaway, but he was so damn tired, he couldn't really get a quality shot off. That should have really been the one to end the game for the Wild. And then the shootout, no Kirill Kaprizov to lead it off. And you don't even start having second. You have Matt Zuccarello give one of the weakest shootout attempts I've seen from him in a long time. And this is a guy who used to have some really solid hands back in the day. You think about him when he started with the Rangers. That move was just, he looked like he was dogging it. They all looked dead tired in that game, after having to make that comeback. And then that just shows you the youth of the Sharks too, that even though giving up that lead, they still had the legs to play defensively. And then, of course, the scorers, like I said, Macklin Celebrini was electric. We had that part of that parlay, but could not, unfortunately, get Wild in overtime shootout or Wild to tie up with that goal parlay. But still got the draw there, and like I said, it's a fun game. Those are two fun teams to watch.
I spoke incorrectly a moment ago. I said San Jose came back. No, Minnesota came back. San Jose was up 3-1. Minnesota tied it, but to rescue themselves, a good young team, steady the ship, still get the 2 points in a game that they played pretty well. It was good to see that. Winnipeg struggles continue. Another loss. Detroit beats them 2-1. Yesterday. Again, the offense nowhere to be found for the Jets. They are really having a hard time putting the puck in the net. This was stunning. New Jersey, Columbus. Columbus 2-0. They got the game in their total control. And then all of a sudden, 3 goals in less than 2 minutes early in the third period for New Jersey to turn the game completely around. And it's a 3-2 Devils win. And boy, did they need that. And certainly there was some very pointed words from Sheldon Keefe after their effort against Toronto. And it wasn't looking good for 40 minutes, but credit to the Devils. One good period is enough to come back and beat the Columbus Blue Jackets there 3-2 last night in that game. Columbus, we talked about how good they've been as a home favorite. A rare loss for them in that role last night, but still 8-2, I believe, is the mark on the season for them in that. Columbus not going to be happy with letting that game slip away. Colorado pounds St. Louis 6-1 last night. Just a really rough night for Jordan Binnington. Jordan Binnington and Freddie Anderson, they're mirror images right now. I don't know who's having a worse time of it right now in between the pipes. Both of these guys just struggling mightily.
Yeah.
I think with Binnington, it's more just mental and a confidence issue. It's a little mental with Freddie, but it's more so the age, all the injuries, physically kind of breaking down, I would say, with Frederik Andersen. For Jordan Binnington, it's kind of inexplicable that really for the large part of the last 2 years, he's had some little spurts of better play in the NHL, but really he's living off the Four Nations. Let's be honest. He's only on that Four Nations team because he was so great in that turn, or he's only on the Olympic team because he was so great in that Four Nations team. And he was great in that tournament. Awesome. He's one of the big reasons why they won the gold medal in the Four Nations. He was terrific. And I think that's why Canada still picked him, because there's nothing in the NHL that would say he deserves to be on this team this year, quite honestly. It's not been good. But at the same point in time, he won the gold medal for this team, and he was good. Not just good, he was great in the Four Nations last year. So it's a weird dilemma. You just got to hope Four Nations Binner steps up for Canada when that tournament begins. But we're not seeing any sign of him right now for the St. Louis Blues, and they lose 6-1. Yeah, no bump for him. Last night after getting announced to the Team Canada roster. But rough night again for Binnington. And Hofer right now is the guy that's probably the better goalie. And I think now after last night, Montgomery's going to be compelled to just go right back to Hofer again.
Yeah, and here's the thing too, and shout out to Rear Admiral over at Spit and Chicklets. He tweeted this out too. When Bennington goes to Milan, it's not the rest of the St. Louis Blues going with him. And I thought that was a very good point. Like, this is also a really bad hockey team that
It
he's
is.
playing on.
Yeah.
It's going to be much more sound defensively,
Going to have
absolutely
all-stars and
loaded
Hall of
offensively.
Famers in front of him over
Yeah,
there in Italy, which will help him
yeah.
out immensely. True. That is
But
true.
but I said it. I said it in our chat last night. I said, his to cross sports, his NFL equivalent is Trent Dilfer. Like, the only thing this guy is really running on is the 2019 run where he was a rookie. No one had any book on him, and that Blues team made an improbable run from worst to first, right on January 1st, where they were the worst team in the league at that time. And then, like you said, the Four Nations tournament, where even then people were questioning whether he should have been on that team because the Blues were kind of up and down at that point, going in between in the middle of a playoff battle. So, yeah, like I said, there's not his resume overall has been way more down. And like you said, there's been mental, blips and issues going back to even his time when he first started in professional hockey. He was the Chicago Wolves in Rosemont. They were kind of worried about him between the years. And like you said, with Frederick Anderson, when he's healthy, this guy's shown that he could actually be one of the better goalies in the league. He had an incredible run the last couple seasons in games where he played. It was just a matter of he couldn't stay healthy. His body has betrayed him over the years, and that can take a toll on a guy mentally. I can understand where Anderson's struggles can be up and down because he's more frustrated with the fact that he can't stay in these games and be part of the team throughout the whole year. That's not so much the issue with Bennington. His health is fine. It's just that he has these really rough patches and seems like can't be able to bail himself out of them. And like I said, when you don't have a good team in front of you, it makes things even harder.
Yeah, no question about that. And there's a real pattern with Binnington too. He's often going to struggle a lot on a random regular season night in November and December. But again, he does the best component of his career resume so far is that it seems the bigger the stage, the bigger the game, the better he plays. There has been a real pattern of that. You can look back to the St. Louis Stanley Cup run in 2019, how great he was, and the bigger games in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final against Boston, in Boston, how spectacular he was, especially early in that game. You then look at Four Nations last year. Again, big deal, big tournament, big games against the best players in the world, and he steps his game up and he plays his best, in that situation. So he's got a track record of, it seems like when it's a big moment, though, in a big game, big tournament, that's when you get the best Jordan Binnington. And I kind of think Team Canada recognizes that, and that's why he's still on the roster. And he says, hey, he was great for us last year. How can we not include him? But I do think there's going to be a tighter leash on him this year, knowing how much struggles he's had. No question in the NHL this year, that's for sure. Calgary beats Philly 5-1. It was a tough spot for the Flyers. Definitely understand why the Flames won that game. That was definitely a Flames or pass spot for me. I was hoping it would be a close game. We could get to overtime, but not the case. We didn't get the draw there. And how about the Boston Bruins? Couldn't get out of their own way. Massive losing streak, and they explode. 6 goals last night, and they beat the Edmonton Oilers 6-2. I'm sure it's a great sign for the Boston Bruins to see the red light go on as much as it did. That's a team that had really been scuffling offensively, and they finally got it going last night. And I saved the headline story of last night for the end. Make it 10 in a row for the Buffalo Sabres. Wow. And if you watch that game, and it was definitely the game I was focusing on the most last night, 4-1. I think in the first period, they didn't play that great, Buffalo. But in the second period and in the third period, once again, they were the better team. They controlled the flow. They controlled the play. They outplayed Dallas. They outskated Dallas in the last 2 periods of that game. They were full marks. They went into Dallas, and they outplayed the Stars, a Stars team that had been sitting on 2 losses in a row going into that game as well. You got to give Buffalo a hell of a lot of credit. They were the better team last night. They were 100%. Tage Thompson was dynamite in the third period, back-to-back goals for him, obviously, to really put that game away and put separation between them and the Dallas Stars. And even Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, who has been kind of a home road split goalie. Looks like Dominic Hasek for the Sabres in his prime at home, and looks like, nothing special on the road. Even he played great last night on the road for the Buffalo Sabres. So credit to them, and the full marks. They were better than Dallas, period. That's all there is to it. And now 10 wins in a row, tying a franchise record, and the Buffalo Sabres will have a chance to have this team, the 2025-26 Sabres, stand alone with the longest win streak in franchise history if they can get to 11 when they face the Columbus Blue Jackets in their next game. That will be their chance to get the history-making, franchise record-setting 11th straight win. And now Buffalo, I can't tell it. Sometimes, new year, new optimism, and sometimes things can change. We begin the new year, Alex, with the Buffalo Sabres in a playoff spot. Wow.
Yeah.
What a world.
Yeah. Now, like we have said this before on January 1st, seen
We
this
have been
Buffalo
here
team
before with
playing
Buffalo
well,
this time of year. Yes.
being
where
in
they're
the
buzzing
playoff
around
race.
the playoffs or just barely in a spot, and then the fucking roof caves in. Yeah.
Right. So you still have to tread lightly, but what a hell of a run it's been so far. And I mentioned yesterday, FanDuel had this market of trying to predict when they're going to lose their next game. The numbers have shifted drastically. Where yesterday you could have gotten them to lose against Columbus plus 360, now minus $1.10. 10-1 price for them to lose at home against Vancouver, now plus 400. So the books have shifted those numbers quite a bit, and that's saying a lot, especially when you're talking about a Columbus team coming off of a bad loss with a couple of days of rest in that spot of Vancouver, which I personally think could be the one going back home on this run. We always talk about that, regardless of whether it's a record run or not. Having a team that's playing hot on the road and then coming back home for a single game could be a little bit of a tricky price. So if you want to jump and grab that now at plus 400 before it turned into a regular minus, plus minus price within a standard range, you can do so. But that's a hell of a game by Buffalo. Like you said, Dallas was controlling the pace early. Looked like they were kind of going to, have their way with Buffalo, especially kind of playing solid defensively. But like I said, Buffalo just never gave up. Quality shots right down the middle. I was looking at the shot chart. Buffalo, that's been the biggest thing. I always talk about how some teams, they're shooting all over the place. The shot chart looks like Stevie Wonder playing darts. That's not the case. Everything was pinpoint, right down the middle, high danger chances. And as good as DeSmith was early in the contest, Buffalo was able to wear him down. Tage Thompson getting hot, getting those 2 goals late in the third period. And they're going to need more from that. We've talked about Tage Thompson and how good of a scorer he can be in this league. But there have been times where he has struggles to finish. He's in the right position, but he can't always finish. His finish has gotten back to where he was a couple seasons ago when he was nearing 50 goals. And that's huge for Buffalo. They can get that consistent offense. And like I said, timely saves from UPL. UPL made a huge save in that second period. That big leg save. That was definitely the save of the night for sure throughout the league. So if this now becomes a team that they believe in themselves, no one else is giving them belief. We haven't really given them much belief, but they're believing in themselves, and that's the most important thing. They can keep this rolling. We'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens. Can they keep it? We're not. They're obviously going to eventually see the win streak end. But the one thing Buffalo can't have happen is when the win streak ends, you can't go 1-9 after that in 10 games. You've got to at least be 500. You got to play 500 hockey. You got to just be, steady around that 500 mark. Win some, lose some. You just can't have that, just complete and utter free fall again, which we have seen from Buffalo sometimes when people start to get a little bit excited about what they're seeing from the Buffalo Sabres. So that's going to be something to watch here moving forward. All right, let's get into the first card of 2026, the first NHL slate of the new year. And we will begin with there's 2 games this afternoon. This is the first one starting at 1:00 p.m. Eastern time, a battle of the capitals, the U.S. Capital, the Washington Capitals, and the Canadian Capital, the Ottawa Senators. We've got Ottawa minus 140, home favorites, 6 the total here in this game. There are a couple 5.5s out there at DraftKings with juice minus 135, FanDuel minus 138. I laid the juice and took over 5.5 here. Small bet to get the day started. Washington's on a 4-game over streak, scoring goals. I am concerned this is Logan Thompson's first start since he was announced to Team Canada. And I don't think he's going to be quite like our friend Jordan Binnington, where he's going to not have that bump.
I don't think
he will
so.
play well here in this game. That being said, Thompson hasn't been great in the last few starts. He hasn't been. He's kind of been inconsistent the last few. He didn't play great against Florida. Panthers won that game 5-3. He has been giving up a few goals lately. And I think Ottawa, too, there's some desperation factor for them. This has been a rough go. That was a pathetic, beyond pathetic performance against Columbus, 4-1. With Columbus arriving in Ottawa for that game, 2 hours before puck drop because of the flight delay. Just brutal for Ottawa to play that horrendously on home ice, given such a big situational advantage in their favor. So they're off 3 straight losses. I expected urgency after the Battle of Ontario. We didn't see it. So it's almost like you got to show me right now if you're Ottawa before I take them. I know it's a back-to-back situation for the Capitals after being at home against the Rangers yesterday, and that's why the price is what it is. I can't lay this with Ottawa right now. They got to show it to me. I think if you like Ottawa, you take first goal, first period. It's exactly what you do. You bank on hopefully they come out of the gate storming, maybe get on the board early here in this game. But I don't trust them at minus 140. The only pregame bet for me here is a little over 5.5. Maybe the draw, too, because I'm starting to look at this series history, and, man, I think I'm going to have to. I mean, 4 of the last 5 meetings have gone past regulation. 6 of the last 9 have also gone past regulation between these two teams. Another thing to factor in, too, with why I don't want any part of Ottawa laying this price. It's not only their current form, it's their total lack of urgency in a spot that demanded urgency the other night against Columbus. It's the fact that they played earlier this year, these two teams, and Ottawa went to Washington back in October. They destroyed Washington 7-1. It was one of the worst losses of the year for the Capitals. So there's a thought that maybe resonates a little bit in the back of the mind of the Caps going into this game here this afternoon, that, hey, this team handed us one of our worst losses of the season back in October. So this is Capitals or pass for me, but I do have a small bet on the over and the draw pregame. What do you think here, Alex? Capitals, Senators?
Yeah, this one where I like goals early. I'm looking at that first period over. I'm seeing a minus 125 to minus 130. So you can kind of wait a couple minutes in game, try and get that down to $1.10 or plus money. But I will be pregame betting first period, both teams to score plus 154. I also grabbed the draw plus 310. If you like Capitals to win, I was talking about FanDuel. You can get plus 550 on Caps to win the game in overtime or a shootout. But I definitely think that we'll see some goals here early. Like I said, even with Logan Thompson, like I said, making the Olympic team, he's been susceptible to give up some goals early. So definitely liking goals early with that first period over and both teams to score.
And Levi Merilainen is expected in net for Ottawa. Of course, it's going to be his net for the foreseeable future with Linus Ullmark, not with the team at the moment. Although, that's not confirmed yet. And I want to point out something about Hunter Shepard, who is right now backing up Levi Merilainen for Ottawa. He was in the Washington Capitals organization at one time.
Yep.
So they put him in there today because of that. So, don't be shocked if it's Hunter Shepard. I don't know if it will be. We haven't heard yet. We will certainly pass that news along because we're going to get it at any moment now, who the starting goalie is going to be for Ottawa.
And it's interesting because he got a couple of games with the Capitals and was looking pretty good. Helped Hershey win a Calder Cup. Looked like he was going to be the heir apparent at one time to make that team. And then all of a sudden they go and get Logan Thompson and plans changed. He was kind of booted out of there. And he's just been kind of middle of the road with the Ottawa's organization. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see if he does get started.
No doubt. All right, good. As far as props go, Protas, goals in 5 of the last 10 games. He scored against the Rangers yesterday. How do we not – the price is not great with Tom Wilson, but scored yesterday, feeling it after getting announced to Team Canada. So, I could definitely see him continuing the recent little goal-scoring streak that he has been on for the Washington Capitals here in this game today. So those are definitely a couple of goal props on the Washington side of the equation that I would endorse here. As far as Ottawa's concerned, I'd probably look more toward, Zetterlund with some value on the second line for them, and Perron. We've talked about Perron a little bit lately. Being on that second line, there's some value there. All right, next up, this is the other afternoon game. This one at 3:00 p.m. Eastern time. Utah Mammoth, New York Islanders. We've pretty much got even money here, minus 110, both sides. Actually, it's a slight road favorite is what we're looking at here with the Mammoth in this one. And the total right now sitting at, looks like, 5.5, 5.5 in some spots, 6 in others. So if you like this total one way or another, make sure you shop around and try to find the best number. But definitely we're seeing a split with the total here, 5.5 and 6. Islanders coming off a 3-2 shootout win against Chicago, bouncing back after losing to Columbus. Before that, they're 2-1 since the Christmas break ended. So we'll see if they can keep that going. Utah 0-2. Actually, no, they've only played the one game since the Christmas break. It was that 4-3 home loss to the Nashville Predators. We'll see how they fare, if they can bounce back here. I think this is, one of these games where I lean Islanders. I think they're in a little bit better form right now than the Utah Mammoth. And Utah on the road this year is 9-14. It's not exactly a track record I'm excited about backing right now. So we'll see how this one plays out. But I do like this draw. Definitely liking this draw. It makes a lot of sense to me. East versus West matchup. I expect it to be pretty competitive. We saw obviously an overtime shootout game with the Islanders against Chicago in their last game. And we've seen 2 of the 3 meetings between Utah and the New York Islanders since the franchise relocated to Utah before last year. 2 of the 3 meetings between these teams went past regulation. So that's the only pregame bet here, a little piece of the draw. Alex, Utah, New York Islanders.
So, yeah, this is one where I have the draw as well. Plus 305 at Caesars was the price that I got. But I'm also taking a shot at the FanDuel. Look, Islanders to win an overtime and shootout plus 550 pregame. Like I said, I'll more than likely be looking to grab Islanders regular money line at a better adjusted price within the contest.
All right, good stuff. Yeah, Bo Horvat, Canadian roster announcement bump. Why not? And he scored in back-to-back games as well for the New York Islanders. So that's a goal prop. Makes a ton of sense to me here in this matchup today. For Utah, you look at their roster right now. Paterka, Clayton Keller, there's another one. You could see him obviously announced to the Team USA. So, like I said, definitely you could see him have a pretty solid performance here. We'll have to see who's in net for these teams, because it's worth noting with Utah going into this game right now. Karel Vejmelka being on IR means you either roll with Vitek Vanacek in between the pipes, or you turn to Matt Villalta, who's been called up from Tucson to be the backup to Vitek Vanacek. So we'll see where Andre Tourigny ends up turning to. I think it'll be Vanacek, quite honestly, for the Mammoth. But again, that's not confirmed. But just be aware of that. With Vejmelka on injured reserve at the moment for the Utah Mammoth, you've got Matt Villalta, who has been called up, and and his numbers at the NHL level haven't been great. I'll just put it like that.
Yeah, if it is a Villalta sighting, I might run and grab Isles money line and bet a little bit more than what I have on the draw pregame. But like I said, more likely advantage. I still think the edges with the Isles. But like you said, yeah, Villalta, you'll definitely see this number run and move quickly to where Islanders become the heavier favorite.
There we go. And Jonathan noting that Dylan Guenther has 3 goals in 3 games versus the Islanders. Yeah, he's not usually a bad option. If you're going to trust someone to put the puck in the net for the Utah Mammoth, Dylan Guenther is often a very good choice to roll with. All right, Detroit and Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh minus 130 home favorites here in this game. The total sitting at 6.5 here in this game. This is an interesting money line price, considering Detroit's the better team. We know that. They're way up there in the standings, leading their division, certainly ahead of Pittsburgh. But I think there's a couple of factors why Pittsburgh's favored. Pittsburgh has, I guess you could say, they've righted the ship a little bit. They have won 3 of their last 4 games. They played a little bit better. They took advantage of a horrific Freddie Anderson the other night, though. Let's not forget that. That 5-1 win looks great. You beat Carolina and you beat them 5-1, one of the best teams in the NHL. Yeah, but Freddie was in the gift-giving mood of soft goals. So you do have to be careful. That Tommy Novak goal, that 4-0 goal the other night, was just so awful to give that one up. So just speaks to how much he's been struggling for Carolina. But credit to Pittsburgh. They took advantage of it, and they put 5 goals past him. What surprised me in that game is that Carolina only scored 1, because this Pittsburgh team has been a sieve defensively, and it's been that way for weeks. But they finally had a better defensive performance. I thought Skinner had one of his better performances since he's been with the Pittsburgh Penguins as well. But still, this is a team that's given up 3 goals or more, 9 of their last 10 games before that 5-1 win. I still don't trust them defensively right now. Detroit's playing well, 5-1 in their last 6 games. We'll see how this one plays out. Detroit's also won the last 2 meetings between these teams head to head. This is going to be This is going to be a series history over for me in this Detroit and Pittsburgh game. 8-2 to the over in the last 10 meetings between the Red Wings and the Penguins. We've seen a lot of higher scoring games, and dare I say it, we might have the 2 weaker goalies for these 2 teams in net. And right now I say that about Shelovs, because Shelovs has not had a great season at all for the Pittsburgh Penguins. To be honest, it's been very disappointing considering how good he was in that Abbotsford Canucks Calder Cup championship run last year, but hasn't been able to translate that back to the NHL level here with Pittsburgh. Now, he does have a horrific blue line, horrific defense, in front of him that hasn't been good. But still, I expected him to be a little bit better. 3.21 goals against average and an 886 save percentage this season for Artur Shilovs. And I'm looking at his recent starts. He's given up 3 goals or more in 5 straight starts coming into this game. So, like I said, he's been part of the reason Pittsburgh has had issues keeping the puck out of the net. And we do expect Cam Talbot here for Detroit because John Gibson was in net for the win against the Winnipeg Jets yesterday. He's been a little bit better in the last couple starts. He beat Toronto and he beat Washington, and he allowed 2 goals in those 2 games. Prior to that, it had been a rough go for Talbot, giving up 3, 4, 5 goals with regularity. We'll see how he fares here. One thing to note about Pittsburgh, with all the concerns about them defensively, at the offensive end of the ice, Penguins in their last 4 games during this little 3-1 run after that bad losing streak they had, in this 3-1 stretch for Pittsburgh in their last 4 games, they've scored 19 goals. So suddenly the offense humming, 19 goals in their last 4 games combined. So I like this full game over. I got overnight, I took over 6 minus 120. I still like over 6. And I think we get 7 here between these 2 teams. No question. I think it's one of my favorite totals on the board, quite honestly. Alex, what do you think here? Red Wings, Penguins.
Yeah, this is a spot where I'm going to wait in game and try and get back to that 6. But pregame, I'm going to play the combination, the parlay with Penguins and over 4.5 and get plus 110 at BetMGM. I think the Penguins can get to Talbot. Like I said, that offense has been humming. Red Wings looked kind of lethargic yesterday in that game against Winnipeg. Of course, the storyline in that was Kane and Taves battling against one another. Saw the pictures and everything with that tour. But that game did not have much electricity or energy to it. I could see where Pittsburgh maybe jumps out early. I don't know if it'll look like what they did against Chicago last week, but I could see them, like, say, getting that offense rolling. So give me the Pittsburgh tied to the over 4.5, and then wait in game for that 6.5 to drop right down to a 6.
So, not to question Jonathan's sources, but he says my Utah sources have told me Karel Vejmelka is the confirmed starter, activated from IR. Here's what my pushback on that. He was just placed on IR on Monday for Utah. Don't you have to stay on IR for a week before you can come back? I'm pretty sure that's the rule. I think so.
Unless there's some kind of loophole with the holiday.
Yeah. Is there a loophole?
Holiday
they put him on the IR on Monday, December 29th, a couple days ago. I was shocked. Oh, retroactive to December 23rd. Okay, that would explain.
See, so yeah.
So that means it's past the 1 week period. Okay, so he would be eligible to come off the IR. Okay, there we go. So it might be him. If the sources are true, it sounds like Vejmelka could be in net here for the Utah.
Still like Islanders, first game back off of an injury, so doesn't change anything for me in that look.
Yeah, it's I only have the draw in that game anyway, so it definitely does not change anything here for me. As far as goal props, this is actually a good goal prop game because I think we should see some goals here. I'm going to ride the streaking goal scorers. Mason Appleton, back-to-back games suddenly with a goal for the Detroit Red Wings. And don't forget, this guy is getting more ice time right now for the Detroit Red Wings. Todd McClellan's got him positioned, playing a little bit more of an offensive role. He's mixed him in the second line at times. And then for Pittsburgh, you go with Justin Brazeau, and you go with the former Red Wing, Anthony Mantha. Justin Brazeau and Anthony Mantha have both scored in back-to-back games for the Pittsburgh Penguins. So actually it's a 3-game goal scoring streak now for Anthony Mantha. So I think Mantha and Brazeau are definitely worth a look as far as goal props on the Penguins side. So it's a good goal prop game, in my opinion here, this Red Wings and Penguins matchup. All right. By the way, if you're wondering what's happened to our old friend, one of our favorites in the bargain bin special segment and player props in general, what's happened to him is we haven't heard from him for Detroit for a while. Our guy, Marco Casper, the friendly betting ghost. Yeah, he's been on the 4th line, and he's struggling right now for the Detroit Red Wings. So he's kind of been demoted right now in this Red Wings lineup and, stuck on 3 goals. I got to admit, that's disappointing for a guy that had 19 goals, 37 points last year for the Detroit Red Wings. And he's got 3 goals this year. That's it. So the Casper, the friendly, the ghost has disappeared. He is a ghost right now on the ice, Marco Casper for the Detroit Red Wings. So, yeah, it's been a tough season for him after what was a very good one for him last year. All right, Montreal Canadiens and Carolina Hurricanes. We've got Carolina minus 180 home favorites. The total here sitting at 6, pretty much across the board here in this one. It's a Carolina Hurricanes team that we know, dealing with a lot of injuries. That certainly has not made things easy for them. We'll see how they fare here tonight against the Montreal Canadiens as Montreal continues this road trip. They lost in overtime, lost in a shootout to Tampa Bay, and then they came back from a 2-0 deficit to beat the Florida Panthers in overtime in their last game. So very impressive stuff from them. We'll see how they fare. Carolina's off that 5-1 loss to the Pittsburgh Penguins. They didn't play great, but again, when you have certainly Freddie Anderson in net, it's going to be a lot tougher to find win those games, and we saw that. You got to wonder now when Rod Brind'Amour is going to put Frederik Andersen back in. It's especially as with Pyotr Kochetkov. Obviously, we think he's done for the season or close to it. It's Bussy and Anderson for now. And you're going to just play Bussy every friggin' game. You're going to have to get him in at some point again, Freddie Andersen. But, God, this is confidence at an all-time low that Rod Brind'Amour must have in Frederik Andersen at this point. But you don't have to worry about that. Obviously, tonight you're going to see Brandon Bussy in net here for the Carolina Hurricanes. 13-1-1. How about this run for Brandon Bussy with the Carolina Hurricanes as a starting goaltender? Jakub Dobeš, because right now Montreal's in one of these situations where they've got 3 goaltenders up with the team. Dobeš, Fowler, and of course Montembeault was just recalled, and he played one of the best games he's played all year, one of the few great games he's played all year against Florida in that comeback win. So they're not going to send him back down right now. So definitely feels like a get well, get right spot. An angry Carolina team off the Pittsburgh loss. Minus 180. We'll see. I think I'm going to go to the team total here with Carolina. I feel like I want to get involved and back the Hurricanes in some form in this spot here tonight. I think team total over 3.5 would be the way to do it. Obviously, I don't want to go with the minus 180 here in this game. This also could be a spot too where, and I don't do this very often, I'm going to do it tonight. First period team total. Carolina Hurricanes. Give me over 1. Okay, over 1. First period team total for the Carolina Hurricanes in this game. This is a bet that you can find at BetMGM. BetMGM lets you bet those half goal increments when it comes to team totals, full game or first period team totals. So you could bet, for instance, first period team total, you could bet over 0.5 goals for a Carolina just to score a goal. You could bet over 1, over 1.5. They'll give you those half goal increments with the first period team totals. For me, when it comes to the Carolina Hurricanes team totals, team total here in this, let me just bring this up here. First period. Let me find it here. Okay, first period. All right, there we go. Let me just see here. All right, periods. There we go. That's what we're looking for. All right, Carolina. There it is. Carolina first period. Yeah, over 1 plus 118. Over 1 plus 118. If you want the bigger bang for your buck, you could go over 1.5 plus 225 at BetMGM with that. I think there's a decent chance they get 2 goals in this first period, Carolina. I think they come out just storming after what happened the other night against Pittsburgh. And what do we know about Dobeš? Very familiar with giving up an early goal, certainly in a game. So that's what I like the most. I'll dabble in the full game with the Carolina Hurricanes team total, which is over 3.5 at even money. But I think I like that first period option even more. I think they're going to pounce early. So Carolina team total over 1 at plus 118 at BetMGM for the first period. Alex, what do you think here? Habs, Canes.
Yeah, that's a good look that I might tag on to. I was looking just strictly at kind of first goal, first period with Carolina. You can get it even money. And like I said, that's just been something we've always kind of gone with, especially when it's Dobeš in net. He's been susceptible giving up that first goal. But those are some different options. Also, correct score. If you can't find the flat one, if you don't have MGM and can't bet the flat one, you can also do correct score first period, which is available at FanDuel, 1-0, 2-0 of that nature with Carolina. But this is one where I kind of wait for everything else live. I lean with the draw. I do see a plus 340 in form of a game to go to overtime. Yes, over at Caesars. So that may be something that ends up getting in my pregame card. But I want to get to this game live. I can see this being a kind of back and forth game. And like I said, if Carolina does storm out early, there'll be some great spots for maybe Montreal first goal, second period overs, and things of that nature.
All right, there we go. And again, it looks like for Carolina, still going to be without Seth Jarvis. Of course, he's still on IR. He'll be still out for a longer period of time, and Jacob Slavin remains out for them as well. But like I said, with Bussey and net, I think they have a good start. I like the first period team total, like I said, even more than the full game one for Carolina. And by the way, we do have, as far as goal props are concerned, going into this game, Slavkovsky's been heating up. I'm going to go back to the well with Eric Robinson. Eric Robinson had scored multiple games in a row for Carolina. He didn't score last game, but man, he had some chances again. So he's got great value right now with the way he's played lately. Eric Robinson, not to mention Rod Brindamore, has been mixing and matching and giving him opportunities to play up the lineup. Even with Aho, he was up on that top line with Aho for a bit in the last couple of games. Looks like he might start tonight on the second line with Stankoven and Blake. So Eric Robinson definitely has some solid value there as far as plus 550 for him to score. We talk about Demidov has certainly picked things up. Plus 320 for him might be worth a look. No question about that. Jackson Blake has scored in 3 of the last 5 games as well, and so has Uri Slavkovsky for Montreal. So a couple of good props worth a look there in this Montreal-Carolina game. All right, all Canadian matchup. Winnipeg, Toronto. We've got Toronto minus 130, home favorites, 6 the total in this game. I would fully expect this to be an Eric Comrie night for the Winnipeg Jets. Obviously, it was Hellebuck last night. And it didn't matter because they lost again, the Winnipeg Jets in that game, 2-1 to the Detroit Red Wings. And that's the problem. You got a good enough performance from Hellebuck. No run support. Couldn't score. Again, this Jets team. 7 straight losses now, 1-9 in their last 10 games. It's just been a dreadful run for the Jets. And again, offensive issues have been at the heart of it. 2 goals or less for this team now in 5 of their last 7 games. That's just not going to get the job done. We'll see how they fare here against the Toronto Maple. Toronto's owned this series, by the way. They've won 6 of the last 7 meetings against the Winnipeg Jets. Winnipeg's one win was here in Toronto last year, back in December, 5-2. But other than that, Toronto's definitely played well in Winnipeg, but they've still also won 3 of the last 4 here in Toronto, hosting the Winnipeg Jets. So, this for me is Toronto or nothing. I'm still debating on how I bet it, if I bet it. Check the Patreon page later to figure out my final decision because I'm still mulling it over. But this is Toronto or pass. I don't want anything to do with the Winnipeg Jets right now. None. 0. No way with what I'm seeing out of them right now. And on a back-to-back and with obviously going to Comrie. Comrie can be capable. He's giving you a good start every now and then. But like I said, it's more sporadic. And this year for the season, 6-8-1. 3.3 goals against average, .886 save percentage through 15 starts. So it'll be interesting to see, like I said, how Comrie fares tonight. And plus, they've got this kid that's playing well in the American League that's been buzzing and getting some talk lately, and that's Dominic DiVincentis. It's not delivery, it's DiVincentis for the Winnipeg Jets. He's been playing well down there in the minor leagues, and there's talk that he might get a call up at some point probably later in the year, but keep an eye on that guy, Dominic DiVincentis, for the Winnipeg Jets. Playing well right now down in the American League for the Manitoba Moose. Alex, what do you think here? Jets, Leafs.
Yeah, that spells doom for Comrie because he would be battling for his job. And like I said, the numbers haven't been as strong. Of course, we saw Comrie play well and be capable. And that was during the absence of Hellebuck with that injury. I'm just going to keep it simple. Toronto, regulation money line, you get plus $1.10 plus 115. I'm seeing in BetMGM. That's a fair enough price. I'll back the Leafs here to win it within 60.
Yep. Plus, you got to like the way Toronto's played lately. 7 of the last 8 points they've collected in their last 4 games. The only loss was that, what was it? They lost to Detroit on Sunday, where it was an overtime loss, but they got a point out of that game. But they've been playing better. You can see. Now, they do have a lot of injuries still, but they played one of their best games with all these fucking guys out the other night.
Yeah.
It was incredible to see it. That was one of their best games of the year. And no Nylander, no Matthews, no Dakota Joshua, no Tanev again, who's going to be out. And by the way, bad news on the Tanev front. Berube said it yesterday to the media. It's going to be a long-term thing for him. It's not going to be any time. I just hate to see it, man. But he plays such a rugged shot blocking machine, physical machine, hits everything in sight. You can be prone to putting yourself in that kind of situation where the injuries can mount, and we're seeing that with Tanev.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. This has been a trend now of veteran defensemen dealing with injuries late in their careers. And like I said, because of the way they play the game, think about how Alec Martinez ended his career. Of course, you talk about Pietrangelo in Vegas, Brent Seabrook with the Hawks. You hope it's nothing of that ilk and that seriousness. But these guys put their bodies on the line, and you can only, like I said, block so many shots and take so much punishment before the body kind of gives out on you.
No doubt. So again, that's going to be something new. That's an unfortunate bit of news. This has just been one of these seasons where every team is going to have a season like this, where it's just, come on, man, can we catch a break with the injury bug? And Toronto's one of those teams. No breaks with the injury bug this year. It has bit them hard, and it's amazing. Actually, they're still finding ways to win through it, and still actually hanging around in the playoff race with all the man games lost. They've had Stolar's been out for months, and he's not coming back anytime soon either. There's another one.
It reminds me of Minnesota last year, where we predicted and kind of called everybody who got hurt. They went down, but they were still kind of fighting and hanging around in the race. Toronto's kind of doing the same thing.
Toronto's very fortunate to be in a position, though, where they have depth in between the pipes because they've got Woll and they've got Dennis Hildeby, and both of those guys have played well for them for the last few weeks. No question about it. Woll was amazing against New Jersey the other night. All right, we move along to Tampa Bay. And Nick Robertson for a goal prop here for the Toronto Maple Leafs. We'll go back to that one more time here tonight. He's been playing better. Matthew Nyes, hungry Nyes, 1 goal from you. And Matthew Nyes, plus 230. He scored in 3 straight. Bobby McMahon I like, too. Bobby McMahon's been noticeable every night lately for the Leafs. Scored a beauty goal the other night against New Jersey. And a really good price on him, too, plus 370. So those are some of the props I'm interested in for the Leafs there. Tampa Bay, LA next up. Los Angeles, minus 120. Home favorites, 5.5 the total here in this game. Yeah, Tampa's on a back-to-back, but this is one of those Anaheim to LA back-to-backs where there's no air travel. You stay in the same hotel. It's just a bus ride down the freeway from Anaheim to LA, so it's not that, tough, a back-to-back spot on the road when you do this Anaheim LA back-to-back compared to other situations during the season. So it's a rest advantage for LA, but does that mean I'm laying a price with LA? Hell no, of course not. Not going to do that. But one thing to point out here is Darcy Kemper's been activated from the injury list for LA. He's going to be playing. He was announced to Team Canada. He'll be one of the goalies for Canada at the Olympics. Now, is it going to be Binnington where he struggles in that first start after the announcement, or no? But it's not just that. It's also that he hasn't played in a while. So it's not always fair to expect Darcy Kemper to go in there and be on top of his game right away. Sometimes it could take some time when he's been out for the period of time that he's been missing for the Kings. But it does look like Darcy Kemper is tabbed, projected to be making his return and starting tonight for the LA Kings. You got to expect it's going to be Johansson here for the Tampa Bay Lightning here on a back-to-back as they gave Vasilevsky the nod against Anaheim yesterday in the 4-3 win. And yes, early in the season, there was a lot of 1s and 2s and some really good performances from Jonas Johansson. Not so much lately. Gave up 4 to Montreal the last time we saw him in net, 5 to Florida in the game before that. He did get an overtime loss against the Islanders and gave up 3 in that game. And then he gave up 4 to New Jersey before that, although Florida scored 8. So they were able to win. But he's been giving up more 3, 4, 5 type of goals lately per game, Jonas Johansson in recent games. I'm tempted by an over involving LA, which is kind of like a Seattle part 2. It can be fate worse than death, trying to trust an over with the Los Angeles Kings. But I am kind of leaning in that direction. But I'm going to wait to make sure everything sorts itself out with the goalie confirmations before we pull the trigger on that. But I am leaning over 5.5 here with Lightning and Kings. Alex, what do you think? Tampa Bay, LA.
Now, once again, this is a good combination for the parlay. I went Lightning and over 3.5 plus 138 at BetMGM. Except just take the better team at a plus price, but then, like I said, knock that total down to 3.5 because this has been a bit of a low-scoring series between these two teams. And like I said, with LA, we know how their offense can just dry up, even if it's Johansson. So just play it safe there. Lightning, money line, type of the over 3.5 plus 138.
This is a revenge game for Tampa, too, actually, because they lost to LA in Tampa just recently, 2-1. I remember that game. Forsberg actually had one of his best games of the season. He actually kind of stole that game for the LA Kings against Tampa Bay just recently. And Vasilevsky was in net that game for Tampa. So you're probably going to get, obviously, totally different goalie matchup. We expect Kemper versus Johansson to be the matchup here tonight. So it's actually revenge for Tampa. So we'll see. Like I said, it would be Tampa or pass. I don't want to do anything with the Los Angeles Kings as a favorite. That is for sure right now. But like I said, I like the over a little bit more here in this, assuming we're going to get the matchup that we think we will with Johansson taking on it. Could be rusty Darcy Kemper, just because he's been out for some period of time. Good, Jonathan knows his LA Kings, has covered them for a while, of course. Doughty, very pumped when he got confirmation he made Team Canada. This is the only thing he gave a damn about, was making the, yeah, of course. I remember you saying that. Like the LA Kings, it's almost like he's just showing up to work every day. That's the kind of thing for Drew Doughty. I don't think it's just, you're right. It's the whole situation, I think, has kind of put him in a malaise at times for a veteran guy that's been there, done that. He's won his Stanley Cups. He's going to the Hall of Fame. He's accomplished everything he could want. Going through a mundane, season like this is not going to stimulate Drew Doughty every time he goes to the rink. I think that's an excellent point that, he's more into Team Canada and representing his country, I think, than representing the Kings at the moment. I think that's a fair assessment. But he's excited about making the team, and as a result, Jonathan thinks Doughty props are all worth a look. Goal, assist, points here tonight in this. Yeah, like I said, the old Team Canada bump. We saw it from a handful of players yesterday. Celebrini, Wilson, go on down the list. Yeah.
Would he be a guy that you won't be able to find with a telescope once he comes back from Milan? That wouldn't shock me either.
Yeah, he's probably going to have, some time. He's probably going to have
could be it.
Yeah. No doubt. So, like I said, he's definitely he's a little more excited about what's going on with his involvement with Team Canada right now than his involvement with the LA Kings at the moment. Kucherov, by the way, has scored in 3 straight games. And I'm going to the only other King I would look at here as far as goal props, we've talked about him. He's finally been staying relatively consistently with Kopitar and Kempe, and that's Alex Laferriere. He's played very well lately for the Los Angeles Kings, and certainly value with him still up on the top line. All right, Dallas Stars, Chicago Blackhawks. We've got Dallas minus 180 road favorites. Total here sitting at 6 shaded to the under. This is actually Dallas revenge. Chicago beat them in Dallas over the last weekend. So will they get that revenge? They probably got it. I mean, it's one thing for Dallas to lose to Detroit in overtime. It was a back and forth game. Detroit's playing well. When they lost to Chicago, that, again, was kind of a game that was winnable. They didn't play that bad. Chicago just found a way in that game, and it was actually actually a good Soderblom game for a change, especially later in that game to give them a chance. Losing to Buffalo is no shame in that. The Sabres are playing great hockey right now. Now they've won 10 in a row. But if you lose tonight and you lose twice in less than a week to the Chicago Blackhawks, then people are going to start, murmuring a little bit in Big D about, this little funk that the Dallas Stars are in. It's not really a full-blown skid right now. It's 3 close losses. Detroit in overtime, Chicago in a shootout, Buffalo, the hottest team in the NHL right now. But you lose tonight, and the concern level and the anger and the disappointment is going to go up in the Dallas Stars fan base if they lose this game tonight against the Chicago Blackhawks. Now, it is a rest advantage for Chicago. Make no mistake about it. Chicago, of course, didn't play yesterday. Dallas did. After the win against Buffalo, or the loss against Buffalo at home, now having to come in, probably got into Chicago late. You never know how the logistics of travel are on New Year's Day. Maybe things were delayed a little bit. You never know. But like I said, it's not a great travel schedule spot here for the Stars. Spencer Knight confirmed in net for the Blackhawks. Jake Ottinger. Interesting that Jake Ottinger, given this game against Chicago, they opted to go with DeSmith yesterday against the red-hot Buffalo Sabres. So save Jake Ottinger for this game. This is a pass for me. I don't have anything pregame. I'm just going to watch, see how it unfolds, and we'll go from there, and maybe we'll jump in on something live. Jonathan with a good point about Dallas's success on the second night of back-to-back games. 5-0 on the second night of back-to-back games this season, and they've given up 2 or less in 4 of those 5 wins. So we'll see if that continues. And he likes Chicago team total under in this game, 2.5. And again, the offense continues to be more than a bit of an issue with no Frank Nazar and especially no Connor Bedard. Alex, what do you think here, Dallas, Chicago?
Yeah, and I get that has been a concern, of course, but I think this game is actually looking like a sneaky over. 5.5 minus 120. I'll be on that. And here's the thing: Spencer Knight has not looked like the top tier goalie that we were seeing at the beginning of the year. He has had some struggles. I expect him to give up goals. Ottinger is susceptible to giving up some soft goals, and the Hawks have done well against Dallas at home. They've won the last 3 meetings. So this is, like I said, a bit of a tricky spot. Dallas should win this game. I will also have the draw. You can get that, like I said, at Caesars. Game go to overtime, yes, plus 340. But I'm going to take a shot with Dallas to win this game in overtime or a shootout, plus 500. So that's the way I play this. I think this will be a tough back and forth battle early. Hawks will be able to get some offense on Ottinger, but like I said, it's been a rough go for Spencer Knight, and this for Blue Line as well. I won't put it all on him. The Blue Liners haven't been looking as sharp and playing as well too. I have a bargain bin from this game also, so this should be a fun one to watch.
Yeah, no doubt. Like I said, it should be interesting. This is a very fascinating spot because it's definitely, not the greatest scheduling spot for the Dallas Stars, but they did just lose to Chicago. We'll see how they respond. Obviously, coming off the last 3 losses, one of those, of course, being against this same Chicago team last weekend in Dallas. As far as props go, Maverick Bourque scored the only goal for Dallas last night. And the thing that's worth noting about Bourque is he's playing with Robertson and Hintz, 2 of the, and Robertson's obviously had a great season. So I think he could maybe get on a little bit of a roll here, Maverick Bourque, and I'd maybe look toward him. Sam Steele's always worth a look as long as he keeps playing with Wyatt Johnston and Mikko Rantanen. That's a good point about Duchesne, says Landon, who's a big Stars fan. Plus 450. He scored 3 of the Stars' last 4 road games against Chicago. That's worth noting. For me, Chicago, Bertuzzi, Ryan Green, Andre Burakovsky, take your pick. I do think any of those 3 guys are going to have to make a difference offensively. But I'm going to go down the lineup, and I'm going to go back, guy that played his junior hockey right down the road from here, Hamilton Brantford Bulldog, Nick Lardis, man. I'm a big fan of this kid. I enjoyed watching him play. Like I go to a handful of Bulldogs games every year, about 6 or 7 throughout the course of the season. And every time I saw Lardis play live, Hamilton, and then when the team moved to Brantford, he was still on the team, and he was just unbelievably just a sniper, just a flat-out goal scorer at the junior level. And the question for me was going to be, does it translate to the NHL level? And we're starting to see signs of it from Nick Lardis. I've been impressed. Yeah, go ahead.
And I think there's consistency. We talk about how well Nazar and Bedard play together when they're on a line. Oliver Moore and Nick Lardis really have built some chemistry quickly. And we saw some of that in those of us who watch a little bit of Rockford Ice Hogs when those 2 kind of played together for a minute. And so this is definitely something that's growing. When you look at this kid, he's got the scoring touch. And I think he could be more of that sniper guy, that goal scoring guy that we were kind of thinking of with Bedard. Bedard's becoming more of an all-around guy. But if you need just an absolute goal at the right time, I think I could see that clutch gene kind of growing over time with Nick Lardis.
Yeah, no doubt. Like I said, I think there's some tools there. There's some tools in the toolbox for Nick Lardis, and the question was going to be, what he did in the June, because he was just he was lighting it up. Like the scoreboard was just going to just disintegrate with all the numbers he was putting up. In the CHL, in the Ontario Hockey League, when he was with Hamilton and Brantford. It was just a question of would he be able to turn that into NHL production, and we're starting to see signs of that the answer is yes, that he is starting to turn that into solid NHL production. So like I said, I think at the moment he's got some value at the moment with his goal props for the Chicago Blackhawks. All right, the last game for this New Year's Day, first NHL slate of the new year, and we ended up with Nashville, Dallas. Not the most glamorous game, I will admit, to wrap up our first NHL slate to talk about. But Nashville minus 115 road favorites. The total here sitting at 5.5 across the board here in this game. You look at this, and this is another game where other than maybe a lean to the draw, I don't have a whole lot here. It is back-to-back for the Predators, after the win against Vegas, 4-2. We'll see if they can follow that up. I'm shocked that they won that game with useless Onanen, so that means you should see UC Saros here tonight on the back-to-back. Seattle, obviously, looks like Joey Decord will get the start, although it's not confirmed. Seattle is off a 3-2 shootout loss to the Vancouver Canucks. This is the front end of a back-to-back for Seattle because they play Vancouver tomorrow night on a back-to-back, and that game is in, I believe, Vancouver. So tomorrow night they play the Canucks again. So it's the front end of a back-to-back, which means it's not a given that it's going to be Joey Decord. They could opt with Grubauer, and Grubauer's not the automatic fade at the moment. He's played pretty solid, actually, the last few times we've seen him in net for Seattle. So keep an eye on who the goaltender is going to be in this game for Seattle. I kind of lean Kraken, but I'm waiting for that. I might dabble in the draw. That's really about it for me pregame. It is worth noting that's a great stat there. Predators 0-9 in their last 9 as a dog on the second night of back-to-back games. But they are favored here. They are a slight favorite here in this game. 7-0 run to the first period over on the road for the Nashville Predators. So there you go. If you want to ride that run, 7 straight first period overs on the road for the Nashville Predators. Alex, what do you think here? Preds, Kraken.
Yeah, this is a game I'll pass. You don't have to bet everything on the board, and like I said, it would be, if I had to make a bet, it would be Nashville. Nothing. I think Nashville's in the better form. I know Seattle had that win streak snapped, but that's a team where, once again, as soon as they lose a game off of a streak, we could look to maybe face them 3 games in a row. So if I had to play something, it would be Preds, but this is more likely to be a pass on my card.
All right, good stuff there. As far as props for this game, probably a little bit more interested in the props than I am either side or total. I mean, Stamkos is just on a heater right now. Michael Bunting and Reed Schaefer for the Nashville Predators might be worth a shot too. Keep an eye. This is another player that played some junior hockey with the Hamilton Bulldogs. Not recently, more so 4 or 5 years ago. Ryan Winterton for the Seattle Kraken. He scored in the last game. He's put in a couple goals recently and getting more and more confidence, getting more and more opportunity as well with Lane Lambert. So like I said, definitely keep an eye on Ryan Winterton for the Seattle Kraken, like the offensive upside that he has shown here of late for the Kraken going into tonight's game. So like I said, one of those longer shot looks that it might be worth a shot. Kakko is on the top line with Beniers and Eberle. We're waiting for Kakko to really go on a bit of a run with that extra, bump to the top line, but still waiting on that to be the case consistently. But yeah, those are some of the props I might be targeting there, Nashville and Seattle. Great stuff. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button if you haven't done so already. And like I said, we're excited about this first card of the new year. Tomorrow, we will be back to our regular, weekday start time, back to 2 p.m. Eastern on the show tomorrow on Friday as we break down the slate, including the Winter Classic. And I'll have some props for that for sure. I'm definitely going to get a little bit more prop heavy when it comes to the New York Rangers and the Florida Panthers in the first ever outdoor hockey game in Florida. That'll be fascinating to see if the NHL is able to pull that off tomorrow night. It'll be a fun watch. It's just fascinating to see how this thing, is it going to fly or is it going to be an unmitigated disaster? Because I think it could go either way. All right. That's more so about the ice conditions, right? I think the atmosphere is going to be better than any Marlin game in that damn venue. I can tell you that. No question about that. But it's about the ice conditions. Are they going to be able to keep that ice at solid, playable conditions? And I know they've got all the elements to be able to do that, and to make sure they keep the ice cold. But like I said, definitely it'll be fascinating to see how it plays out tomorrow night with the Rangers and Panthers in Florida. Great stuff. And a reminder, wizardsportspicks.com, new year, new money. And like I said, we've got certainly college football playoffs today. We got the final week of the NFL regular season playoffs coming. Beyond the Lines videos daily on the YouTube channel. Check it out. It's been a great all sports run for me. The last 30 days, I mean, it's just been a great, like I said, run. We've got, what is that? Got to bring up the record because it's been great. It's like 118 and 85 all sports. Just nice. Really, really strong over the last month or so. So make sure you check it out, wizardsportspicks.com. And also check out patreon.com/Ice Guys, just $10 per month. Again, we thank all our Patreon members. We posted a little Happy New Year message to all our Patreon members on the page, just saying we really do thank you. You're a big reason why we're able to do this show every day, 7 days a week throughout the NHL season. Your membership, your subscription, your support. It's totally, we don't take it for granted. It's not unnoticed. It's not unappreciated. We know with you guys supporting the show the way you do, especially as Patreon members, it really goes a long way to helping us. So with that in mind, if you haven't gotten on board already, it's not too late. with the new year upon us, make sure you get on board. $10 per month, goalie charts, totals charts, all the bonus content, including, of course, the daily betting card, sides, totals, player props posted each and every day on the Patreon page. Minimum 2 Patreon exclusive live betcasts every month moving forward, starting here in January. And we will announce all the dates of the betcast in the next few days. The 1 free-for-all and the 2 Patreon exclusive live betcasts that we will have here in the month of January. So excited to announce those. And a reminder, your membership goes a long way to supporting the show. So get on board, $10 per month at patreon.com/iceguys.
And another New Year resolution you can make is checking out the Ice Guys store, getting yourself some merch over at iceguys.myspreadshop.com. We're going to have some new items added throughout the year. We are also looking at, hopefully within 2026, finally getting some Ice Guys jerseys. So stay on tuned for that. We'll be working on that as well. But we've got all the hats and T-shirts and mugs and caps and you name it right now available at the Ice Guys store. So don't delay. And also for the next 6 days, you can save 25% on all orders, $50 or more. Hit the redeem button at the home page, add all your items to your cart, and 25% will be taken at checkout for orders, $50 or more. So the next 6 days at iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
All right, get on board. Make sure you check that out. All right, bargain bin special of the night and best bets coming up right after we hear from our great Ice Guys sponsors.
Wizard Sports Picks, featuring the finest handicappers in the universe. Sharp insights, trusted picks, and relentless results. We strive to help you become consistent winners. This is Wizard Sports Picks.
Where the kings and queens shop.
Thanks to all our sponsors, including Royal Cannabis, royalcannabisshop.com, 20% off with promo code ICEGUYS. All right, bargain bin special of the night, and hopefully I mentioned new year, new money earlier. Hopefully that's the case with the bargain bin special of the night. You know that's not going anywhere, even though it's a new year. Alex, we'll start with you for your first bargain bin special of the night.
Well, let's go on back home. 1901 West Madison. You got the Hawks taking on the Stars, and we talked about the chemistry that he's built with his new line mate Oliver Moore on that second line. The young kid from, like I said, skating in your neck of the woods, Ian, Nick Lardis. Get him anytime goal scorer plus 460 available at FanDuel. He had a great goal off of a fantastic feed in the last game. I expect him to have some nifty moves and be able to score here tonight against Dallas. So Nick Lardis, anytime goal plus 460. My first bargain bin special of 2026.
All right, there we go. And yes, I just have one tonight, and that's a rarity. You know, lately I've been going with two, but tonight just one bargain bin special. And I'm going to go with one of these. Again, it's a deal where he's gotten a little bit more ice time lately for this Detroit team. I'm going with Mason Appleton plus 900 goals in back-to-back games for the Detroit Red Wings. He's certainly been, like I said, very noticeable for this team. Looking to make it 3 straight games with a goal for Detroit. And again, the price is just absolutely phenomenal. We're talking plus 900 with Mason Appleton for the Detroit Red Wings. So there you go. Mason Appleton, Detroit, plus 900. Looking for his 3rd straight game with a goal for my bargain bin special of the night for this Thursday slate. All right, best bets. Alex, what do you like for best bet?
let's head up north to Toronto. We got the Maple Leafs taking on the Winnipeg Jets. This Jets team's been brutal, and now you're talking about an Eric Comrie start, and you can get Toronto to win the game in regulation plus 115 in BetMGM. I think that's a great price. So give me the Maple Leafs to win it within 60. That's my first best bet of the new year.
All right, there you go. Leafs in regulation to hand another loss to the grounded. That's the word we're going to use now for them until they turn this shit around.
I like it. Yeah,
grounded Winnipeg Jets right now with the way they've been playing. I mean, 6, 7 straight losses and 1-9 in their last 10 games. It's been rough. So Toronto in regulation for Alex with his best bet. My best bet for this slate, we're going to go to Detroit-Pittsburgh. Over 6.5. I know it's moved off 6. I still like it at 6.5. I think we're going to see that game go over the total. Still don't trust this Penguins team defensively. Artur Shilovs doesn't have great numbers this year. You've got the goalie in net for Detroit, who hasn't been nearly as good as John Gibson lately, and of course that's Cam Talbot. And Pittsburgh has suddenly exploded on the scoreboard. 19 goals in their last 4 games for the Pittsburgh Penguins. So I think Detroit finds the back of the net tonight multiple times. I think Pittsburgh does as well, and we see that game go over the total. Also make note of the fact 8-2 to the over in the last 10 meetings between the Red Wings and the Penguins. So Detroit-Pittsburgh over 6.5 plus 100 even money. That'll be my best bet here for this first best bet of the new year in 2026. Great to be back in the new year, 2026. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button. We're back to our regular weekday show time tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern. So make sure you join us then on Friday. Reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. For Alex B. Smith, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Thursday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. Happy New Year once again. Best wishes to everyone in 2026. We will see you again tomorrow on Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern for another edition of the Ice Guys.